So I said this is a letter from Sheikh Rashid to this gathering from his prison. Right now Sheikh Rashid is in a Hamish trial. Well, as a student of Sheikh Rashid since now more than 30 years, since 1994, I had to ask him this question, whether the concept of democracy, Muslim Democrats, is still valid within the context through which we are going through, especially with what is happening in Palestine, and especially that he, the person, the main character in the Muslim Ummah, who is advocating this idea, he's in prison right now. He's the one who's called for all these values of consensus, democracy, justice, tolerance, and now at the age of 83 or 81, was it? 82. That's from March, so we trust him. Don't trust me. At the age of 82, he's in prison. I mean, with what is happening right now, a testimony against his ideas and against his values. So this is his answer. I am in prison today because I called for the values of national democracy, which is part of universal democracy. And because the conflict in Tunisia is a conflict between democracy and non-democracy. Some of the enemies of democracy rely on modernity as a bias to exclude Islamic opponents. We in Tunisia, we are founded on the values of Islam. And we do not find any justification to exclude those who disagree with us or those who believe in Islam with a different vision. Because we do not see that there is an official spokesman for Islam. I am in prison today because a significant portion of the so-called Tunisian modernists are non-democratic. They call for a democracy that is just for them, an exclusionary democracy, whereas we are in struggle for a Tunisia for all and for a democracy that includes everyone inside Tunisia and outside Tunisia. The country today is governed by a dualism of good and evil, right and wrong, patriotism and treason. This is the essence of the coup of the 25th of July 2021. The monopoly of patriotism, the monopoly of Islam, and the monopoly of righteousness. Therefore, the existing regime is in a relentless war against democracy in all its meanings. This approach cannot bring Tunisians together because God created people different. The current system sees difference as a curse, but we see it as a mercy. Palestine exposed the shortcoming of democracy within the framework of nation-state. Democracy as a mechanism is one of the best mechanisms that the human political mind has produced for consensus and reaching settlement between differences and a way to resolve disputes away from violence. But when democracy is confined to a particular group and is imprisoned within the trench of nationalism, race, and color, its mechanism break down in more than one case, especially in the face of major challenges, such as the Palestinian question. The flaw, then, is not in the idea of democracy, but in the idea of a nation-state outside the framework of ethics and the values of equality for all human beings. There is no framework for ethics outside the framework of man as God Khalifa or vicegerent on earth. The one who is entrusted to look after this world, he's the one who is entrusted to look after this world. Therefore, we demand democracy and add to it our understanding of Islam so that it emerges from the confines of the narrowness of the individual and the group to the vastness of humanity. Sheikh Rashid, as Andrew has mentioned in his book, do criticize the concept of democracy, especially when it is related to the concept of nation state. Now, Sheikh Rashid conceived and considers, and right now he's in his 3rd month fasting since the starting of Tufan al-Aqsa. He's fasting every day up to today. He stopped for only 2 or 3 days when there was a truce. The Palestinian case is the case that is central for him, where he is right now in prison. The issue of freedom is central to Sheikh Rachid Ghannouchi. But how Islamic, one could question, how Islamic are the thoughts of Sheikh Rashid? I mean, Andrew spoke about a shift. Let me go back to a scholar who is also from the rural south of Tunisia. And this scholar used to be an Imam al-A'zam of Jama' al-Azhar, the Dean, if you could say, of al-Azhar. He's Tunisian, actually. His name is Al-Khidr Hussein. He's had a very good but small book. The book is entitled Al-Hurriya fil Islam. In that book, there is a small chapter which is called Al-Hurriya, Hurriya Dini. What he says here, freedom in Al-Hurriya fil Din. I will not translate the term Din here as religion, because if you read Ibn Ashur and you read Al-Khidr Hussein, the term religion might be used in Arabic as the term Diyana rather than Deen. As for the term Deen, it encompasses the concept of Diyana, but mainly the jurisprudence, the concept of Sharia. So what Khidr Hussein says, Islam has decided in dealing with nations under its protections to guarantee them rights that ensure their freedom in their religion, Diyana, the space in enacting their laws among themselves, and the establishment of their rituals with autonomous will. There is no way for those in authority to hinder any of their rituals, and there is no entry for the judicial authority to intervene in resolving their private matters unless they willingly agree to be judged before it. And he goes on explaining this idea and providing adilla for this concept. Let me also refer to when Sheikh Rashid speaks about implementing Sharia, the main maqsad of Sharia, that is Hifdhuddin, isn't it? So you have Hifdhuddin. When we speak, how Ibn Ashur would explain Hifdhuddin. Once we examine the resources of Islamic law, the concept of Hifdhuddin meaning preserving the social system, Hifdhu Nizam al-Ummah. So, and we can go, I can bring more arguments, and I will go back to Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim to find foundations for all what Sheikh Rashid is saying in both of his books, actually. And the originality of Sheikh Rashid is that he is well entrenched in Islam, and he was really able, and he fought very hard to implement those values, and he made the proof that those values are valid for the practice. Now let me finish with this. When the coup happened on the 26th, after one day of the coup, he's asked everybody, just go home. We are not going to get into any type of bloodshed. He says the line of revolution, it goes up and down, but it will recover. So he's quite confident that this is a historical process, it's not going to stop. The most important thing in this process is that we stick by our values. That is why from the first day when the case of Tufan al-Aqsa started for Sheikh Rashid, it was an opportunity for Muslim Democrat and for these values, for these universal values who outbound the boundaries of the concept of nation state, in regard to that a nation state restricts the concept of interest within those borders. However, if we go back to Shatibi, even furthermore, we will understand the concept of maslaha in Sharia. And it is all based on the issue of freedom. Shatibi says, المقصد الأعلى للشريعة, I will say it in Arabic translated, هو أن نعبد الله اختيارا كما نعبده اضطرارا, that we worship Allah, that we freely worship Allah, as we are His creatures by necessity. So, and this is, I mean, I will not, because of time, go further, but I personally, in my personal relationship with Sheikh Rashid, I insist that we are not facing a state of a victim, even though he's in prison. We cannot deal with this state as someone who is a victim of oppression. He is someone who believes in these values, who believes that these values are universal, who believes on the issue of freedom, justice for all mankind, independently of their beliefs, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. And he believes that he has to stand by and keep believing in those ideas. After that, it is a process of history which will really bring about results.